Hey everyone, this is Five Pin Universe's second podcast. We actually recorded this on October 31st, Halloween. This is the next day. I just wanted to go over a few things before the podcast starts. Um, so, our Patreon has been up and running, I do believe, just a week. We already have 7 patrons. I'd just like to send out special thanks to the Strike Fame patrons, Al Paquette and JB Rainsberger. They helped out a lot. We've increased our audio a little bit, so hopefully that comes through pretty well. So our guest this week, obviously, I'm the host, Karie Kreutz. Um, we brought in Mark Johnstone, the vice president of the WCBT, Adam Weber, 2018 Player of the Year of the WCBT, Dexter Wiseman, this year's Autumn Open champion from 2018, and Tim Wiseman, his brother, 2016 Autumn Open champion. We think this format went really good, and we hope you enjoy the topics and take a listen. Thanks. We're just going to go around the table, talk about some topics about five pin bowling in Canada, and maybe even some other stuff outside of five pin bowling, but we're going to try and stay on topic. All right, Dexter.
Just had Masters this weekend, our first tournament Masters here in Alberta. And something I wanted to discuss was the effect of 17 on center bases. Wow. Looking at the stats this weekend, Tim shot just about 2,600 for 8. I shot 2370. Weber shot 2380, I believe. And
Mark shot 40,
less
50.
than that. Less than that.
but I could safely say that I wasn't bowling all that well. You can definitely tell when you can be averaging 300, and you can tell when you probably shouldn't be averaging 300. So the scores are heavily inflated for guys, and everyone knows going into that weekend that it's going to be that way, unfortunately, which kind of creates a situation where the first weekend of Masters is like the only weekend of Masters. But the other side of it too is the effect that it has on a lot of the ladies that play. And if you watch the effect of the way the balls are hitting the pins for the slower balls, it's creating a massive disparity in pinfall. You watch Diane Violini out there, and she's always been all about the location of the shot, but she buries it in the pocket, and because of the physics, she's leaving a corner every single time. And there's only so many adjustments you could do, and I'm a big proponent of finding adjustments for every situation. But watching certain people with a slower ball speed just get ripped apart because of the way the bases are, it's hard to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was never one for the 17-inch bases, and on the weekend it definitely showed. I didn't play that great. I think I shot 2220, but it wasn't definitely a 2220. It was probably a 2000 anywhere else. Got some extra kicks off the back, chop off straights and stuff like that. And
Get out there.
yeah, it was very disheartening to bowl with a few people and see them struggle the way they did. And other people were lighting up, and even by Tim's own admission, he said he wasn't playing that good, but he averages well over 300.
Yeah, I was probably, if you look at my stats, probably 40% on spares. I wasn't very good, but I threw a lot of strikes. I took a side pot away from Karie, and I hit the middle 3 different times. Right, left pocket, right on the beak, and I took home $100 from that. So, I really have it is tough for the ladies. You watch a lot of them not be able to carry corners and whatnot, and the physics is there. But if you have the ball speed, anything goes down there, right? That's kind of how it goes.
There's got to be other factors though too, right? Like I thought Nebs was one of the first to go after those 17s, and didn't they have a nationals there, and averages were horrific. So like there's got to be other factors, whether it's the slide, whether it's confidence, I guess, walking into it. But higher end ball speed is definitely the key.
Well, I think like from my standpoint, it's like seeing like the kickbacks and all the weird breaks and stuff like that, because the guys that throw it a bit harder tend to get a lot more of that there. It was hard for me to get a lot of breaks like that, right? And so I didn't score. I didn't play very well anyway, but a little bit of a disadvantage for me, I would think.
There is a definite difference between Bonnie Doon and Nebs, and that could be the taller bases. Bonnie Doon uses the black bases. I don't believe Nebs does.
Nebs, I don't believe does, no.
So that could be the difference in the deflection there. And I think that's important. There just isn't enough resistance to deflect properly. Not only that, I mean, with the 3-pins pushed in, all the ladies' balls are hitting the outside of the 3-pin. So you watch every ball jump in front of the 2-pin all day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I guess, while we're at it, what sort of adjustments should people be making if that is the case?
Well, you definitely can't go down the middle, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think you got to create some angle.
Yeah,
Right,
you
for
got
sure.
you got to push the head pin in, not out, right? So
Yeah, and that's something I even made an adjustment. I went to the outsides at Bonnie Doon in order to score a little bit better in the last 4 games, because I wasn't scoring that well either. And a lot of that was due to punching, but even just creating that little bit of angle, I got some more carry and a little bit more push through too. Something that definitely didn't work at Sherwood Park. Up the gut was a lot better than from the side, that's for sure.
No, I was going to say that I saw a few of the slower ball shooters, the Genos, the Harveys of the world, try to actually amp up, the ball speed. And I actually saw them struggle even more because now they're forcing the ball, and it's just a big push. And all of a sudden, they actually scored worse trying to throw the ball harder. And I think for most of the ladies, that might be their only option aside from angle. Obviously, I think angle's the biggest key that we can do.
I can attest to like subconsciously probably trying to throw a ball a bit harder too. Like I think maybe I was doing that a bit too. Some of the things for me going into Bonnie Doon is I'm exposed to play well there. So the mental thing about playing there is actually having a negative effect on myself because I have huge expectations going in there, and I try way too hard going in there, and I don't do as well because of that, right? So.
Well, that and the fact that, going into it, again, we know that you have got to perform on those days. You have got to play well the first 2 Masters, because if you don't, you're down between 400 and 500 pins going to the last 4 tournaments.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's a really hard thing to overcome. So there's a lot of pressure in the first 2 if you want to make it. And I don't really think that's the way that the game was designed to be. But that being said, I'm not sitting here trying to slam Bonnie Doon. I understand the concept as to why the 17 on centers came in. I don't really agree with the concept, but I understand why.
I think some centers could benefit from it, and some it's like the scoring's too good almost, but some centers could benefit, I think.
So here's my question for you guys: how is this only affecting, like, I guess, the top 5 percentile, really? If you really think about it, right? Because the other 95, the average bowler out there or the open play bowler ends up, participating more, having more excitement, right? In that aspect, I think is okay.
Right, and so that's the reason why they implemented it in the first place. They wanted to make it more fun for the recreational or lower average bowlers. That being said, the biggest problem that the lower average bowlers has is they don't hit the middle. So if they're not hit the middle, it's not making any difference. All that's happening now is you're having your 200 average bowler who used to hit the middle, or doesn't hit the middle all that often, right? And then you're facing somebody who used to average 250 and hits the middle all the time. Well, that person who averaged 200, their average isn't getting any higher because they're still not hitting the middle. But all of a sudden, the person that was averaging 250 is now averaging 280. You have an 80%, another 30 pin disparity in there. It's a huge difference. And then you start going into the POA tournaments, and you're hooped.
Well, it's kind of like no tap tournaments, right? Like, probably generally helps the higher average bowlers typically because we hit the middle more.
Yeah,
Only if you
for
throw
sure.
corners, though.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I throw nothing but bombs, but
No, I typically don't leave corners. Like maybe one a game, if that, on average. Like I get a lot more chop offs.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because I don't get any really.
Streak.
But that's
Ball
that's
speed,
just
yeah.
ball speed, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it because they're trying to raise entertainment value for their center, right? Entertainment's a huge sell point. Does it hurt their lower handicap players or their lower average players? Yeah, probably. If they ever go to a tournament to a tougher house, they're not going to compete very well there. Even though you may do well, but I don't see how. I really don't.
Yeah.
The only I find people that lose out on it is the ones that get the special recognition awards, right? The perfect games, the 400s, right? You know, and unfortunately across Canada it's becoming running a joke. It's asterisks, it's like tainted like Barry Bonds in his home run, right? And it's not really the bowler's fault. I mean, they're just there to bowl, right? They don't have a choice.
No, definitely.
Right, so you see someone like Palmer or even Michael Marciano, they'll forever not maybe get the full accolades from their peers, right? Just because of that.
Yep. And honestly, I do feel bad for Bodydoon too because they're seeing backlash now. But I remember before they did all this, like they were receiving backlash then too because their pinfall was really really hard for a number of years. It was really tough. And then all of a sudden it went to the other end of the spectrum. And I'm sure they feel like they're in a position where they can't win. And really they're trying to do the best they can for everybody. But it's tough. It's such a fine line.
Yeah, I think ultimately higher scores are better than lower scores if you had to make a choice, really.
Yeah.
I'm partial. I'm 50-50, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault them. I don't fault them for it.
Not at all.
It just makes my decision a little bit easier. I don't tend to go play at Bonnydoon anymore just because I don't feel it's a fair recognition of how I'm playing. And I want to get ready for other tournaments that are going to be in houses that are notoriously tougher. So I like playing in houses, in leagues that are in tougher houses. It sharpens my game more than just throwing one or two more strikes a game.
Right. And I mean, you come to Sherwood Park, and the big thing for us is that if you finish your shot, if you have fingers on your ball, you're going to score well. But watching the people who bowl specifically at Bonnydoon only, it's hard because they're not forced to do that. They're not forced to do that, and they come to Sherwood Park and then they struggle a little bit, you know. So yeah, and then you don't have as many spare shots at Bonnydoon, so you're not practicing all that as well. And not to mention the fact that your two pins are pushed in, so you're actually aiming in a different spot as well.
Yeah,
So
I heard somebody who plays at Bonnydoon lots say, "Oh, I don't normally have to spare these at Bonnydoon." I heard.
Wow.
It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
no
actually,
comment.
Danny Gombach had mentioned, I was playing with him the one game at Bonnydoon, and he went and thought he picked his corner. The ball stayed on the deck, but it missed the two pin because the two pin was in that extra little bit.
Yep.
And like it's such a small amount, you can make the adjustment to pick it. But it's surprising when you normally would think you would pick it, and then all of a sudden you have to shoot at your spare again. Right.
Yep.
Especially if you're not used to the center, right? And I know with Danny, for example, he plays down at Toppler, and those lanes break probably as much as anywhere in Alberta, you know, possibly Grand Prairie, but trying to make that adjustment, and then all of a sudden the 17s are out there as well. Now you're having that extra adjustment. I know the dots on the approaches are backwards at the back end at Bonnydoon also. So there's another factor that a lot of bowlers just don't have to think about on a daily basis. And once they master it, they're fine. But all of a sudden, the locals get those probably 2 or 3 game advantage on most of those players.
Yeah, for sure.
Myself, I'd always prefer to grind, so I'll always play somewhere like a Sherwood Park, a Toppler, any place I can grind.
Right.
Olds, Grand Prairie, yeah.
Fun houses.
Depends who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No. Do you have your topic, Tim?
Well, I don't know how. I want. It's something that we've always talked about, I think, and I just kind of want to get the ball rolling a little bit because I know we all have our personal views on why or how we feel about this, but something we always talk about is that I disagree with, but we always talk about is bowling's dying, right? And is bowling dying, or is there a way we can fix it, right? Unfortunately, like I've always said, we're in the toughest sport. Dex and I are proprietors, and I think it's up to the women, the proprietors, to be honest with you, whether we survive or we don't, right? I mean, we're a private business. How many other sports out there that are not private, right? Tons. I mean, soccer, you have your facilities owned by the county or by the city, or even like you talk about hockey arenas and stuff like that. Bowling's one of the few sports out there that is privately owned, right? And I think that's the biggest contributor to why the sport's kind of going downhill a little bit, right? And I always hear people say, well, let's why am I going to help when bowling's going to be dead down the road? Well, it's either you're a leader or you're not, right? And I'm proud of you guys for coming on these podcasts because I think you guys are proof that if we do work hard at it, we can make something go of it. But I don't know. I don't know what is your guys' opinions on how we can fix this, right? I mean, in a good way, I guess. I mean, I think we're fortunate out in Edmonton and I think we can all attest that everybody works together, and maybe that's why we're still a bowling hotbed. I think if you look at our leagues and all our centers, most of them are still pretty much static, right? We're not losing a whole lot. We're gaining people. We're like it's great because as proprietors of Sure Bowl, we talk to Martin and Marissa and Christy at Bonnie Doon all the time, right? And when we talk to Richard at St. Albert, we have good communication with Jocelyn at KJ, and it goes on like that. And we're not scared to share information, not scared to help other people out, right? And you go across the country and it almost seems like it's a secret, or you don't want to talk to the other person across the street from you, but we're all in it together, right? And I know we all have, as associations, sometimes volunteers are tough to come by, and the volunteers we have in spots sometimes are strained with personal life, and maybe they don't do the work that maybe they're promised they do. But I think associations like ours or the 500 the Masters or anything like that, it's necessary. It keeps us proprietors, I believe, make us honest, right? Because if it's without these associations out there, I think without us, I mean, I think we can do whatever we want, right? And at least there's some common sense sometimes or some feedback. But with bowling alleys, it's past the time of just opening up your doors and people automatically come in, right? We had to bring people in. You look at places like Shelby at Heritage, and they come up with such great new ideas and innovative things that they bring forward, or Jeff and Tom England down in Nebs, right? And I don't think bowling's dying, but I kind of want to know what your opinions are on how we fix it.
I guess my thought on it is I don't think bowling's dying. I think it's shifting.
Right.
You're losing maybe a lot of the league stuff, the lower league stuff, maybe. You got to shift more towards entertainment value. You're always going to have your top average players want to play scratch. They're gonna fill one league in your house, but to fill the rest of your time, if open play just can't fill it, I think you really have to shift to an entertainment value. And to prove that point, Shelby started, I do believe it's a ladies and wine league. It didn't start out great, but now he said it's one of his hottest leagues there is. It fills right away. Like that's something
Bonnie Doon's done that too, yeah.
Right? Very innovative. Come up with new ideas, and unfortunately, I think that's really the way it's going to end up going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's associated the cost. If if the cost of bowling keeps going up the way it is, and we know inflation of living keeps going up, a lot of people's wages don't follow that. And for them to play a league that they've played the last 15 years, but the price has gone up 3 times of what it was, but their wage hasn't, without having that extra entertainment value for that league, they're going to be disinterested from it, right? It costs so much more, but you're not getting any more value for that money. I think that's where the shift has to come, is to an entertainment. You add something to that league to make that extra value there, right? Without
Property is worth
hopefully
a lot too.
costing the proprietor more money, right?
And we can all attest that property is worth more than the business nowadays too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I just want. Yeah.
I don't know myself. I don't think the sport's dying. I keep hearing it all the time. Also, the one thing that I think we need to continue is to ensure that there's more youth being brought into the sport early, and that youth typically will stick around into some of the adult leagues, or bring other people to the sport. And right now there's so many options for the youth. Myself and my son, we actually had to pull Braxton out of YBC this year to focus on his soccer. Right. So I don't know how that shift away from bowling is going to affect, say, one person, and, he brings a buddy to all the tournaments, and that exposure level goes away. The other factor, I think it's not seen very much on mainstream TV anymore. There hasn't been a whole lot of social media on it, so that is starting to kind of come back. Obviously we've got the WCBT locally, and I definitely see that shift, infusing some excitement back into the sport, and hopefully that just continues to grow. And I definitely don't think it's dying. It's starting to grow again.
Yeah, this is the first time I remember myself personally. I mean, I bowled all summer at Masters, and then in the WCBT finals, and that ended at the start of August, and I'm starting league at the start of September, and I was excited to bowl. That's a rarity nowadays, let's be honest, but I felt that buzz with a lot of people. Even the people who weren't participating in those events were excited to come back and bowl, and I think the videos do make a really big difference for that, for sure. So I think that's a good start. I don't think the game is dying either. I totally agree with Karie. It's shifting. A lot more of it is definitely the open play side of it now than it has ever been. And businesses just need to be aware of that. I mean, you still have to cater to your league bowlers because they're going to be your regular consistent income. But the entertainment, the open play side of it is huge. That's when people want to go out with a group of buddies every once in a while and have a few beers and throw some balls and chit chat and have a good night, and that's really what it's about now. And I mean that's part of the reason why I enjoy my Thursday night league so much, because that's really what it is. It's just a bunch of buddies sitting around having a few beers, laughing, and that's really what the game is supposed to be about most of the time. But we just got to make sure that it gets to that. Yeah.
What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Like, I don't think the game is dying at all. I kind of have the unique angle to see it from the shirt supplier kind of side of things too, right? Like, I get a lot of I'm getting a lot of requests from people that are ordering shirts, like custom bowling shirts and stuff, that I don't know, and I think that's the difference from a year or two ago, is because it's all my friends, all you guys, all my buddies. Now I'm getting, like, I'm doing shirts in Newfoundland and Quebec and Ontario and stuff from people I don't know. So I think finally that the buzz is the WCBT with the videos, and the buzz is getting created, and all these other people think these shirts are so cool, and the whole buzz and excitement across the country is pretty awesome. And it's kind of cool to see that, like I said, is the people that I don't know, because I've been around a while and I generally know most people, but it's kind of cool to see a lot of the young ones contacting me as well. Of course, I harassed them to join the tour and stuff too and whatnot. And a lot of people are receptive to that too. So I don't think the game's dying at all. And like you guys say, it's shifting. Yeah, youth numbers are a lot lower, but I've always said it's hard to have a professional sport if you don't have a McDavid or a Wayne Gretzky or a LeBron or just some sort of professional organization to look up to. And I think that's what we needed to create is having that so kids look up to us and all of us, and they have something to strive for and to achieve and something to look up to when they're older, right? So.
For sure. And I think, Johnny, I think we can all attest. I know I'm biased, but I think Edmonton is probably, I think for us, Edmonton is a hotbed for us, right? And I think we grew up and you had the Genos, you had the Mark Jacksons, we had the Bruces and Lynns, and we had all that, and they kind of filtered through into us, and then it was never you're taking my spot away. It's always been let's get more people, and the more people we compete against that are on a high level, the better we are, right? And I think that's something we've always done really well out here. Now we filtered it in. When Dexter and I got a little bit older, we brought Derek Gall along, and then we brought in somebody else like Bradley and Tyler. We encourage them to go play, and then it's sort of our job, right? And we want to make this go on, and we want to make this successful, right? And maybe that's why we always have great young kids come up in Edmonton. It's not just because of me or Dex or Adam or Karie or Johnny. It's everybody in Edmonton. We're all kind of collective that way, right? And I don't know what it's like on the rest of the country, but it seems like we're doing something right here at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if we don't do that, then the game dies with us, and that's something I don't think any of us wants, right?
Can't happen.
Yeah.
No. No, we're alive anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Created too many bonds with too many people from around this country to not have the youth get to experience that as well.
Yeah, we've gotten so much back from this sport, not to give something back, right? Like, how many trips have we all had nationals across Canada, meet new people, meet people from other parts of the country, and really, like, that's such a ridiculous thing to think that we've had all these trips on 5-pin bowling, right?
Yep.
It'd be ill-advised of us not to give back.
I remember that argument when I was in junior high. Some smart-ass kid was like, "You bowl?" I'm like, "Yeah." "You play hockey?" I'm like, "Yeah." "You play hockey?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "How many times have you gone nationals in hockey?" "How many times have you gone provincials in hockey?" "Oh, none." "Okay, keep talking."
Yeah.
Like, whatever, man.
That was Dexter in his prime.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree. Hey, I guess I'll move into my topic. So we've had, I guess, speaking from being president of the WCBT, we've had some interest of other centers in other cities wanting to start up events. And so my topic is, we have kind of the same tournament formats throughout the 4 tournaments, like TPC and Regina are pretty much the exact same tournament format. And Autumn Open is unique, and the traditional Open at Heritage kind of incorporates some of the Autumn Open and uses a bracket style format themselves. So one of my thoughts was, what other types of tournament formats can we come up with, or even scoring systems to create a unique tournament? Something totally different, right? So I guess I'll start the topic. My thought was, I was just listening to Flow Bowling. They just had the U.S. Open down in the States, and Jason Belmonte happened to be on there, and his thought process was a golf scoring system. So you would play 10 frames. Your frame would consist of how many balls it took to knock down all the pins. So you could score a 1 for a strike, 2 for a spare, or you could score up to a 7, 8, 9. As long as you keep missing pins, you keep stroking, right? And then you'd move on to the next frame, and then so low score would move on. You'd play a tournament that way. I guess what are your guys' thoughts on something like that? It's called I believe it's called the Petraglia system.
So it's really funny that you talked about this today, because Tim and I were discussing this exact thing this morning. I don't know if you guys got any messages, but we received messages to the TPC yesterday from a gentleman who was from
Croatia.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he was a 9-pin bowler, and for those viewers out there or listeners out there that don't know what 9-pin bowling is, 9-pin bowling was the actual original bowling style before 10-pin back in the day, and it's set up in a diamond shape. I know you can't see me, or some of you can't see me, but it's in a diamond shape.
It looks like a diamond, yeah.
But he used to play 9-pin, and that was their scoring system. Is that it was, how many balls you could, how many balls it takes to knock down all the pins, and you go until you do it. So that is their scoring system.
That's as far as I understand from what he said. Yeah. It was pretty wild. He came into bowling alley for like 2 hours, and we talked about some stuff, right? And it's kind of neat. I can see it working,
I think it's just a matter of testing it out, really.
Would the qualifying be the same, by pinfall, and then you do into that?
Well, I think you would run it like an actual golf tournament, right? You would play, let's say it's 8 games of your first round, but you would play 4 rounds, and lowest score after the 4 rounds wins the tournament.
And then you cut it in half after the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, you have like a cut.
Do it.
I think that'd be neat to play it in, I guess, shifts or whatever. If you have too many players, you would play, this amount of players would play in the morning shift, the next shift would start in the afternoon, and maybe an evening shift for round 1. And then maybe you cut that to half for round 2, and then maybe it's only 3 rounds long. Like, it doesn't have to be structured into a bracket, right? It can be structured into just 3 rounds of lowest score wins.
Low score. Okay.
You could almost start it like golf too. So let's say in our center we have 16 lanes, right? If you wanna have like the first foursome go out at this time, you start on lane 1, you finish that game, you move over to lane 2, the next foursome start on lane 1, and keep moving across until you're done. Just like a golf tournament, that'd be kind of neat. The only hard part would be you need to have volunteers, because it's got to run a manual scoring the entire time. Yeah. You have to have the people to sit there and keep track of all of it for you. But yeah, that would be unique.
And see, that would be something that could be held on the players too. You have to keep your own score, and the other players are there to gut check.
Mulligan.
Too, right?
Yeah.
The other players are going to.
I'm just using a mulligan on that one.
Oh, right. Gino would have 15 frames in one game.
That's not good, Tim.
Wouldn't be good.
That'd be terrible.
He plays 7, walk away.
I don't know. I would have to try it out and test it out to see how it would work. I'm not opposed to changing it up. I'm trying to think of some other
for a new tournament, right? Like, I wouldn't say any of the existing tournaments would ever want to change their system, but a new tournament that's trying to start up, I think that would be neat for them to introduce a totally different system that nobody's been doing. I think it would draw a lot of interest too.
I kind of like the formats where I don't know how you do this exactly, but let's say you got 40 guys going, and then after the first game or X amount of games, you drop the bottom 5, and then the next set of games you drop the next 5, and then you kind of go on like that somehow. I kind of like those types of formats sometimes.
I heard Adam Weber really likes that format.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he made $40 one time.
Consolation.
I played lane 1 and 2 for like 6 straight games.
Oh, but if you
it's because you had high scores, yeah.
Incorporated into a tournament style somehow.
No, honestly,
or
I
keep
totally
your scores
agree.
as you go somehow, or I don't know.
Doesn't the Ontario Masters do that? Ontario Singles do that for the Open a little bit?
I'm not sure.
I think they dropped down after so bit.
Oh yeah,
I remember CBCs did. CBCs did, right? And they'd play the 10 games, and then it was top 10 people or anybody within a certain amount played on another 5 games, and
Yeah.
Then you're
a lot of
reseeded.
different formats. Yeah.
I like that format. I really do. I loved running it for the consolation for TPC. Honestly, if Saturday doesn't already run so late already, I would still be running it for sure. But it's just we just can't. But I love the idea of cutting the field in half, cutting the field in half, cutting the field in half, because you're gonna have the most consistent player win. Much like the same way that the Autumn Open is. Really.
Right.
Yeah.
I know another fun one Mike Lacuse used to always say is, try to have a format where if you punch a head pin clean and then you clean it up, you count a spare for that frame. And then you move on, right? You do some sort of a mixed, for somebody like myself, if I declare a chop spare as a strike in that frame or something, like you can declare something at the start, right? I don't know, so something like that would be kind of fun. Any type of kind of like trick games that just kind of brings people around for like a Thursday fun event, just like all of our Friday fun events at all these tournaments, right? Just putting some sort of a gimmick event out there, and you're going to draw people, and that's probably the best way that you can really test a format, because you're going to have 80-90 people there.
Honestly, the one that I've always wanted to do, and Tim laughs at me every time I say it, but I still want to do it. I want to run a bingo bowl match play tournament.
Nice.
I think that would be so much fun on a Thursday night. Oh, come on. You know what? You have all these high-level bowlers, and now you've got to figure out a way to throw aces to win your match.
Dexter,
I think that'd be fun.
Move your mic. I can't hear you at all there.
Sorry. I think that a bingo bowl match play tournament would be so much fun. Having a high-level average bowler having to shoot aces to win their match, I think that would be an absolute blast. I think it's hilarious.
Standing there throwing it 1K down there.
Oh no, there's better strategies. There's better strategies.
Do you know which one I think it could work? And maybe you have your qualifying. Dexter, maybe we talked about this too. You have your city, maybe you get your top 32 you qualify for. First seed gets to pick his bowler from the anybody from the 32. He gets to pick them. Right? And then he gets to face off against them. And then the second place has to pick his bowler. Right?
If he wasn't picked already.
If he wasn't picked already. And you can, so imagine the first bowler getting picked. You're kind of pissed off at the guy thinking you're the easiest one.
A little extra motivation.
Yeah.
Left you there.
Yeah, it's the grudge match tournament. Yeah, it's something we've talked about a few times too.
Yeah, I
Or
think
even
that's
simple
something
knockout,
very cool.
like slow pitch.
I know. I honestly, right now, I pick Johnstone in a heartbeat.
I know I wouldn't pick Gary Baird.
Yeah. Your record's not very good against him, I guess.
Well, he's only averaging about 3.5 against me. Lifetime.
And you know what? We're all high average bowlers.
Cha-ching.
I mean, for the for these kind of things, we could bring back the counterpin for a tournament.
Hey, yeah, I kind of like that.
Really, there's no reason why we couldn't.
No, for sure. But
Perfect.
With
Just scoring
that
system.
topic, do you guys feel that those are gimmick events that you would run on Friday nights, or do you think that some of these scoring systems that you brought up could be actually played in an actual tournament?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can see the golf style.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it would be us doing it and trying it and showing that we're serious about it. I think people would jump on board to give it a try anyway for the first year.
Yeah, like I think that that golf scoring system, I think it would work good for an actual tournament. I just think it makes sense. Like there's an actual thing there, right? Where the counterpin is definitely something there, but once again, that'd have to be manual scored, and you would have to enlighten all the youth, because I guarantee none of them know about the counterpin.
Yeah.
Yeah, like none of us have probably even played it. We know.
What was it? Left corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yours left corner, yeah.
I think it
Can we
changes
change it to
depending on what
If you're
Your hand? Yeah.
yeah.
if you're left-handed, it's the right one.
What if you're two-handed?
Then
Yeah,
I
don't
don't
know.
better.
That would
Gotta
really
pick both.
suck.
Can we pick one? Can we pick one?
What even with our tournament for the TPC, you know, for the A side it's seeded. For the B side, we could do the grudge match on the B side. It was a random draw before. That's an actual possibility. That would make our tournament unique, and that'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Hey,
that'd be kind of cool,
Regina.
actually. And that would, like you said, that would make the change from Regina as a random draw as well.
Yeah.
So are we doing that?
Sunday.
I mean, obviously not this year, but something to consider.
I just hope I have first seed.
You just better hope you make the cut.
Honestly, I don't know if I'd want first seed. That's you gotta call something. Get a Phil
Create a new
Kessel.
enemy.
It's like Phil Kessel in the All-Star game.
Well, you know, honestly, I pick Mitch Davies first because Mitch doesn't win it after the A32s. He just breaks his hand after.
No, but he's good on the B side.
He's good on the B side.
Just
so
make
that'd be
sure he needs to throw more than 5 on his last ball.
Hey, I think that's good.
Yeah, no,
guy.
got to make sure there's some uniqueness to these events, right? And if we were able to bring a unique gimmick, a new gimmick event to, say, a Friday night, yeah, no, I think it could work. Only problem is everybody's drinking, right? So now you might have to go over the format more than once.
Yeah.
Throughout the event.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting tired of the bakers, to be honest with you. You know, it gets kind of tiresome after so long. But
Yeah, every event is Baker's. I have a hard time. As a center, like for us, we'll probably never move away from the doubles right now because, I mean, we're pumping in 128 people on a Friday night, and first place is $1,500 a person. Like it's just impossible for us to move away from that, just to accommodate people.
Yeah.
But
I think the problem you run into too is there's only so many formats you can do, right? Bakers make sense. You incorporate a lot more people into the event, and it doesn't take super long, right?
yeah,
Your doubles makes a lot of sense. Even the trios that Regina runs on Thursdays, they're higher player event or whatever. That's a good format too, but other than those 3 events, I don't know. I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head that would be a team event.
bingo bowl match play.
Gimmick.
Or you do pools of whatever, and you go head to head against other teams at that point instead of having a qualifying or something.
Yeah, do a random draw.
So
Or
that's kind of like
match.
Red Deer. That's kind of like Red Deer too, in a way, though. But you got pools, and you're playing everybody in your pool. But it's doubles instead of singles.
Yeah.
Maybe like curling, you do some sort of qualifying and have a page playoff system or something like that. That's kind of cool. Yeah. I don't know. There's lots of options.
Because at the
I think
end,
we could check what others.
the Heritage Bakers, they do a step ladder, do they not?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never made it to the step ladder, so I don't know. Just asking.
We won it lots before they had a step ladder. No, we never made it.
Yeah. All right. Next topic, guys.
I don't know. How about in honor of Halloween? Do you guys have any bowling superstitions?
ooh, I do. I have lots.
Never one for me myself. I never put my shoes on a tabletop. On top of the table. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know how to screw with you now.
That's kind of dirty too. Anyway.
That's how your mother raised you, though. You never put your shoes on the table.
Yeah.
I'm sure lots of people have the same shirt, or I'm sure some people have to have the same belt or the same underwear for that matter. Hats for all you guys typically, right? So I know for myself, I got a bunch of little quirky ones. with the shoes, like the shoe laces have to be the same length before I tie them. Like just little stupid little things, right? But yeah, superstitions, man, they're everywhere. Everybody I talk to seems to have 2 or 3. So it'd be good to see what else everybody has.
The only thing for me, really, I didn't start doing this until I lawn bowled for a number of years because Lynn and Bruce told me I should do it. And I went out and tried it, and I had a good time. But with lawn bowling, there's a bias to the ball. So you have a marker on one side of the ball, and whatever side that's on, it moves to. It like curls that direction. So after that, when I started bowling, I had to have my name or whatever was written on my bowling ball the same way all the time. So it'd be lined up one direction, and the name would be written that way. So I end up holding the ball the same way all the time. But I never used to do that before lawn bowling. That's about it, really. Yeah, and besides resetting the pins, but that's not really a superstition. I just think it's good practice.
I'm like Adam. I have to put my socks on left to right and my shoes on left to right. I don't know why I have to do that. It's just how I. And then I always have. Actually, Stevenson taught me this when he told me how to hold the ball. Or on my name with the O for Timothy, I had to put my finger on the O the whole time. So that's how I hold it on the same spot every time. It's just in your head or something like that, in the same routine kind of thing like that. And yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't that cut your finger though when you're throwing it?
Yeah,
No,
I don't like touching the name.
He throws bricks.
I don't like the name on my fingers. I'd prefer it in my palm where I can't feel it.
To be honest with you, they're probably worn down. You can't even see my engraving. I mean, they look great.
I may have created a new one since Calgary, because Calgary, when I finished bowling, I took off my shoes and I found out my socks were inside out. I dressed in the dark. I didn't look at them, and they had these little fluffy things because they were inside out, and I was like, oh. So maybe that's what I'll do from now on.
Well, if I come with my pants inside out, you know why.
Wait,
I'm trying something.
Dexter on Friday?
yeah. Wardrobes on Friday, Johnny. Yeah, let's go. You do the
and
pass,
cheeseburgers. Wardrobes and cheeseburgers.
Junior bacon cheeseburger.
I'm not sure if mine is so much a superstition. I used to carry around an American $50 for good luck in my right pocket all the time. But other than that, I don't think there was anything. I didn't worry about how I put my shoes on, what socks I was wearing, I didn't worry too much about that. Even bowling balls, it didn't matter which bowling balls I put out there first. It was whatever was working, then I switched out. So,
I think that some of them for me, like I can't think of any like crazy ones at all. But it's more like in team play where you start developing some routines and you're being successful, and then you're like, okay, now you got to have your towel on that shoulder before you throw the ball every time. Like you start developing some routines like that.
Yeah, open provincials, Adam Weber's
PG-13 boys.
Yeah, Adam Weber's nipples were raw.
Oh man, but it was working.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, I find in team events, they especially 5-player team, everybody's got their kind of place in a line while somebody else is bowling, and that person comes off and everybody kind of shifts. Once you find the routine that's working, team sport, a routine, then that superstition's everywhere. So that was a lot of fun. I think we were in was it Sudbury?
Yeah,
Timmy. Yeah, and that was such a great event. And just watching our team dynamic when we were throwing well, everybody was in their exact same spot, every single ball. It was crazy. It was so much fun.
I feel bad saying this, but every time Freddie had a double, I had to say, "Right in the dick, Freddie," and he always threw a turkey. Always. So sorry for your benching, Freddie. but it's true though, right? I mean, we were very like that though, right? You kind of get the same thing, right? And yeah, it worked. So
I know Bruce Mortar, for example, one time he had a perfect game. He would only throw his one ball 4 frames in a row. So he used the white ball, for example, for the first 4 frames, and then went to the blue ball for the next 4 frames, and then back to the white ball for the next 4 frames. So it was kind of his superstition on when that happened. He had a perfect game doing that. So that was kind of cool.
Well, was it? There was a story about Gino told me the story about Lloyd Cox. I never had the opportunity to meet Lloyd Cox at Edmonton, but from my understanding, he never believed you throw the same ball twice. So he would throw a double, and he never thinks you're going to throw a triple the same way. So he'd move 5 boards right or 10 boards right or go 10 boards left and throw his turkey. And then he would stand back where he threw his first 2 balls, and he would throw his 4-bagger or whatever it was. But every 3, he would move 10 boards either way or back or whatnot, right? It's kind of insane adjustment, but it worked for him.
So if people don't know, we are actually recording this on October 31st, Halloween. So tomorrow is the start of the TPC. We start with a pro seminar at 4:30. All youth are coming out for free, sponsored by Alberta 5-Pin. I say we. The 5-Pin Universe is going to be there, help recording, but the WCBT is the one running the pro seminar. And then we have the TPC Invitational starting at 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, intro's about 5:40, I think.
5:40,
right?
and that will be live streamed on the TPC at Sherwood's Facebook page for people that want to tune into that. And then, if people don't know, I'm playing Dexter Wiseman.
Who's he?
Yeah, pretty much. Derek Gall is playing Tim Wiseman. Adam, you're playing Kevin Clark out of Regina.
For Juicebox.
Yeah, for and Mark Johnstone's playing Matt Eisenhower out of BC. So we're all competing in it. It's $1,000 entry. So your first match is 5 games, scratch total, moves on to the next match. So the field gets cut in half every round. The next round is 4 games. And the round after that, it's 3 games. And then the finals, 2 games. And the champion takes home $5,000.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And now when the 16s finish, we put the 8 ladies in as well.
That's right. We have the Ladies Invitational this year as well. And they're a $500 entry. And that's not saying that they couldn't play in the $1,000 Invitational. They just wanted to create a separate event just for the ladies. The ladies were more than welcome to play the $1,000 Invitational as well.
And still are.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's kind of neat, adding a whole nother small tournament within the Invitational. I guess I shouldn't say small tournament. 8 more players to the tournament. I think that's pretty cool to add that little aspect to it. And Annette Campbell was the big force behind that, I believe, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah. She was awesome.
Yeah, perfect. And it filled up fairly quick from what I understand, too.
To be honest, faster than the Invitational did. So obviously she knew the people. Went real fast, so it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's always good to add to an event instead of taking away from them. So it shows that we're growing. So it's positive.
No doubt. Yeah, and I think a kind of neat part that we added to the tournament about 3 years ago was the whole walk-in with music and stuff like that. I think that's pretty neat, even though some of the music choices aren't the greatest, but it's pretty fun to watch them walk in and everybody clapping and everything, stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's kind of neat seeing who picks what for music. It's kind of shows their personalities, I guess.
Yeah, look into their soul.
Yeah. Some people just don't have souls, you could tell.
AKA Chris Hislop. But I'm hoping we have all the kids staying over from the seminar. With us having over 30, I think that'd be great to have the kids out there for that too, right? So with us starting at 5:40, I think it's a great opportunity to at least see the introductions and a couple first balls before they have to leave.
Well, yeah. Like you're going to be done the seminar at roughly 5:30, and it's only going to be 10 minutes before walkouts. I think
Absolutely.
I can see a lot of them staying for that. It's kind of silly for them to leave before the walkouts, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll encourage that.
Awesome. And for people that I'm sure they've checked the TPC website and stuff like that, but I do. Mitch Davies is coming out. Mike Herbert's coming out for the Invitational. Who are the other players for the Invitational?
We have Daryl
Alpaquette.
Gauthier, Alpaquette. The two Northern Ontario guys playing each other.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We have Robbie Wilson from Calgary coming out. We have Kevin Clark from Regina. We have Brad Wilton from Calgary as well. And then we have Casey Campbell, one of our locals. And he is our title sponsor with him in a net at Cabinet Doors and More. And then we have Eric Schoos from Wetaskiwin.
Right, and Eric's playing Casey, I do believe.
That's correct. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, it'll be a fun time.
Good.
And who else playing in the ladies' side, guys?
We have an up-and-comer from Lower Mainland, Dakota Hef. We sort of, you see it online. She seems like a hell of a bowler. We also, she'd be facing our local bowler, Katie Rayner. Katie's kind of come in her own since she graduated. Not with her 119 at the beginning of the year, but but that's bragging rights for Dexter. Yeah.
She's came a long way.
Yeah, she's definitely come a long way. And then Alyssa Bonney from Thunder Bay will be coming out to face Chelsea Ely from the Lower Mainland, BC again from Surrey. And then you got Heidi Mapstone from Edmonton facing Jen Baker, who moved back from Newfoundland. So they're kind of facing off each other, old teammates. And then finally you have the two Regina bowlers. You have Jen Clark versus Sarah Ouellette. So all eight are really awesome bowlers, and it'd be great to see, hopefully I don't get to watch it because I'm still playing. But I think it would go over really well.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of neat. The draws were completely random, and you have Regina players playing Regina players, Northern Ontario playing Northern Ontario. It's kind of unfortunate that they're traveling all this way and they end up facing each other in the first round, but that's the luck with the random draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt bad for that, but yeah, like you said, we pulled it out of a hat.
Yeah.
They're all here for the main event anyways.
Yeah.
Al says he has a different room right now, just in case him and Daryl don't get along, so we're okay.
Well, if they invested in each other, at least one of the guys is going to go to the next round, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. Karie might be looking for a new team on Thursdays.
Why, you're going to kick me off when I beat you?
We'll see tomorrow. For anybody who wants a preview, go to the WCBT website and watch our match.
They can go to live. Good call. I don't want to see you pout anymore. People didn't vote for you, so.
They were obviously right.
Yeah, so then the main event starts obviously on the Friday. First shift is at 9:30, 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah. And from the sounds of it, you guys are pretty much filled up every shift, eh?
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah. From my last look, I think we had like 4 shifts last Friday morning, full Friday afternoon. Saturday morning we have 3 shifts left, and I think Saturday afternoon we have 1. Tim,
I think we filled it up, but I mean,
did we fill it?
keep in mind the rebuys. People are going to be dropping and gaining, so it's going to fluctuate Saturday for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't mean don't show up. Just show up and there'll probably be a spot available because, like you said, a lot of those people have re-entered just in case they don't play that well in their first shift. But if they play well enough, they'll obviously drop out of that. Oh, we got a mover.
Absolutely.
We're losing power here.
Oh, no. Good thing we're just about at the end of this thing.
Definitely looking forward to the weekend. Lanes are playing great. Confidence will be high probably after watching tomorrow's invitational event, and I think score is going to be huge. So 2150 is my guess, boys.
That's what I was thinking too, actually.
Yeah, me and Tim had this argument. I'm thinking 2150. It was 2108 last year, but pinfall I think is better, and we have more players and more people.
What was 8th at the Masters?
That's a good question.
I was 9th at 2140.
Yeah, so 2150
There
is
you
looking
go.
pretty close.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think 2130, 2125.
Oh, Tim.
You were always bad at
Masters
math.
Masters just proved that.
I don't know what the pace of play is going to be like, right? And we never had a Friday morning shift so full, so I had to kind of put the traditional thinking out of the window a little bit, right? So
Better quality field though too, right?
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
And the pace of play isn't going to be any different Friday morning than it was before. We're just using all the lanes, right? We were still doing 3 and 2 before.
Yeah, we were. Just
So
shifting
it's really
sets,
yeah, it's no different. I think the scoring's going to be good. I think the cut's going to be high. I think 2150 minimum.
Perfect.
For sure.
Well,
2163.
2163. Oh god. I don't know if I
said
have
that?
that in me.
Me.
Oh.
I'm sure Wolfson's got 2162 in him.
Just
Yeah,
wait till you see his
actually,
shirt he's got.
That's how you find Wolfson's score and you add one more spot to it. That's how you figure out the cut.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming out for another podcast. Good luck tomorrow. Hopefully, you all play well. Not so well, you in the orange, but anyways.
Well, hopefully I get a chance to play Karie or
I'm
Dexter.
colorblind. Who are you talking to?
The people that pay for the Patreon will see who I'm talking about. All right. Thank you guys very much for coming out. Have a great night.
Yeah,
Sure.
thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Good luck with this edit.